I wanted to have all the answers. I wanted to feel a dark feeling and immediately know what to do about it, to instantly feel better. And it wasn't like that. I was kind of empty and kind of miserable. And not kind of, I was really empty and really miserable. My name is Katie and I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. So one of my favorite verses is Psalm 23, and they read it at funerals, and it says, and I'm going to even read it, it says, "When I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you will be with me." So I think 2020 was the soul-sucking worst. And I kept trying to deny that it was dark and it was bad, but I hated it. I'm an extroverted extrovert. I felt horribly alone. Every insecurity from childhood of, oh my gosh, loneliness, fear, isolation, anything like that. I was always very sensitive to that as a kid. It was dialed up in 2020. And I did a lot of comparing my insides to everyone else's outsides, because all you had was social media. And it just felt so dark. I felt so alone, and it was like hope was a pinprick in the distant future. I was in this tunnel and I could see a dot of light. And even as 2021 hit, yes, that pinprick got closer and the light got brighter. But the aftermath of, feeling all those really real feelings and letting all of my insecurities bubble up, and all of a sudden I realized it was at Elena Rose's video shoot, and everything just felt dark. Every word I was saying felt fake, and we had to stop because I just started to cry, and I was like, I don't mean this. We were talking about hope, and I was like, I do feel hopeless right now, because that pinprick of hope, it just felt so far. And really after that, I couldn't finish the videos, and I had to look at why, and why is not my favorite question. I like things happy and light. So my very favorite verse is, "Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly," because I get hooked on that freely and that lightly. But you gotta go through the dark valleys to get there, and the how is that when you're in that dark moment, God says, "I'm with you in that dark moment." So really the dark, when you bring the light into the dark, that's where the contrast is. So I guess that's kind of where I am. So I think for me, when I'm feeling I'm in a really dark place and I can't really see the light, one of the things I think about and question, it's where's the light source? And this is the same is true in art as it is in life. So 1 John 1:5 says, "God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all." And I know that's true. And so when I ask where's the light source, when I'm painting, it makes me step away and think for a minute. And this question, when it applies to me when I'm in the dark, is at first I bristle, because I don't want to think about that. I just want things to instantly be better, and I just want to say, "Okay, God, fix my problems," and kind of control God. And so what I've realized in the aftermath of 2020 was there are a lot of things I need to deal with in myself. And so really for me, while my first instinct is to try to control things and instantly feel happy again, or feel free, or feel light, sometimes you just got to go to those dark places and address them, look them in the face. And for me, that takes faith, yes, but also community, because God gives us other people for a reason, and he works through other people. God lives in us, so we see him through others. And so for me, I needed to face some dark things in me, and I knew I couldn't do it alone. What's really funny is I thought about what to share, and it was really tempting to share something that I felt like I've had a degree of success in, or over, or whatever. But I was at this moment and I was telling somebody was asking the question, what do you crave? And I thought, I crave harmony. And I thought that was a really great answer, because I do crave harmony. I want everybody to have fun. But really, I didn't realize it was a surface answer, because underneath my craving for harmony, I want people around, because then that means I'm worth being around. So it's there's a really deep insecurity there that I didn't know I had. And so I finally, when I heard myself because sometimes when you say something out loud and then somebody repeats it back to you, you can hear it and you're like, oh, like that isn't exactly what I meant. So it was just that level of surrender, because I was like, God, I need you. And I remember the story I usually share is when I was 23 and I threw my hands in the air and said, God, following you might be boring, but it's got to be better than this. I realized that that level of surrender can be a daily thing, and I want it to be a daily thing. And so really this is something that I'm going through now, is realizing like I don't want to have to control everything. It's not working. I think what's really cool is when we think about those words in Psalm 23, when you go through the dark valley, I'm with you. I forget what that looks like and what that feels like. And as I was praying to God and I realized that I was still trying to control things and fix things and be happy, and like it just all felt so fake, it's because I wasn't allowing God in. I had let God in the past, and I'd surrendered in the past, but I wanted to like hoard up my surrender so that it would like I could ration it out the rest of my life. Like I don't have to daily surrender, because like I've already had some big surrenders, so like all my little surrenders, I mean, like, you know, I'm just gonna ration it out. And it reminded me of, and I've thought of this so many times, but God just really reminded me recently of manna. So the Israelites were hungry, they were in the wilderness, and God provided them with manna every day. But he said, by the way, you can't hoard it. I'm going to give you enough for today, just get enough for today. And, you know, for Sabbath, I'm going to give you extra the day before. You can ration it that one time. But instead, people would like gather up all they could, and then it would rot. And I feel like that's before this recent like realization that like I need to surrender daily. And it's like something I've realized before, but just the gravity of it and how miserable I felt was because I was hoarding manna. I was hoarding surrender. Like I would count these big surrenders, but like little ones, I'd let them go, and I just like fix things on my own and control things on my own. And then eventually that adds up and you get rot. So I think for me, just in the aftermath of 2020, things I'm learning right now are just the importance of manna. God gives us enough for today. Today is enough. He is enough. And because he is enough, I am enough. And that's something that I didn't realize I was not believing every day. I was believing that I had to be good enough. I was doing things to make people like me. I was doing things to keep people around me so I wouldn't feel alone. And that's just not what it's about. He says in your dark valley, he's with you. And I prayed and I said, God, I got to be honest, like I'm desperate. And he gave me a picture of a moment of acute pain. He reminded me of when I was having my son. We got to the hospital a little late and I was in horrible physical pain. And I'll never forget, this nurse came in and just like put my forehead just like on her chest. And it was weird. I got this like warm feeling of comfort amidst excruciating pain. And Jesus said that's me. Like, even though I'm going through something that feels painful, that's where he is. Like, he's the nurse and he's putting my head on his chest. And so even though there's a lot of pain right now and I'm figuring things out, that's who Jesus is. And that's the picture that I feel like he gave me and the memory that he gave me. Like, Jesus was real through that woman in that delivery room, and he's real like that for me now. I love the verse, keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. And what I love is that God is the source of light. I mean, he is our light source. That's why I like my online, like my painting, I call it Light Source Gallery, because he's the light source in everything. And it says God is light, in him there's no darkness at all. So if you're wanting freely and lightly, those are side effects of keeping company with the light source. So just like if you have a lamp and you unplug it, there's going to be no light. But if you plug into the light source, that's where the power is. I think one of the best ways to connect to God is sometimes through other people who are honestly like just trying to figure God out and experience more of him. So my advice for anyone who's feeling alone, anyone who's feeling confused, anyone who's asking the question, where are you, God? Where is the light source? I would reach out to Lane of Roses today. We have a care program that will connect you to any kind of support group. Whatever you are dealing with, we have a counselor and a director of our care program who will pray for you and figure out, like, you know, who are the people that can help you where you are, just to experience God on a deeper level and realize that in your darkest valley, no matter what it is, you're never alone.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching that video. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can continue to explore faith with Lane of Roses all week, and go ahead and check out our next video right over there.